So this is going to be a quick review of the Cambridge Audio MXW70. Now, I got this to replace my topping PA7. Now, this is the PA7 normal edition, not the plus edition. Although both units, both models are exactly the same, it's just the power supply that you get, which is different. PA7 Plus being more power output, but even still, the normal PA7 is over 100 watts per channel at 8 ohms. So you are getting a lot of power there to drive most speakers out there. And I'm still rocking the Triangle Comet 40th anniversary. And these are 90 watts power rating at 8 ohms. So fairly easy drive and fairly resolving as well. Very resolving even. So I quite like these. I always thought the synergy between the PA7 and the 40th anniversary was really, really good. The soundstage is super wide. The stereo imaging is really good. The layering of instruments and vocals, especially in the mid-range. So it just made music feel authentic. Now, I'm still using the Luxine X9 DAC as a preamplifier. Now, the DAC filters are set to NOS and the EQ is set to bypass, so it's not using any sort of internal processor or anything. So it is a AKM Velvet DAC. So the factory tuning, the warmth, the smoothness is always going to be there for the coloration side of things. But even still, X9 and PA7 seem to go really well, and I am using XLR outputs. The only reason I got the MXW70 is because I wanted to get rid of the external power brick, but that was the main reason really to get the MXW70. That front fascia looks a bit cleaner, and you lose kind of the volume dial, which I don't use anyway because the PA7's in bypass mode. There's the volumes being done by the preamp on the X9. So I just wanted something that was clean, simple, and it looked understated. And I'll put some images with the PA7 and MXW70 together just to show what the size difference is, because whilst the MXW70 is slightly taller, not much, it is quite a lot deeper as well. So it's just worth keeping that in mind. It's almost as deep as the X9. On the back, we do have the same sort of connections as on the PA7 as well. We've got a set of XLR balanced inputs. You've got our RCA line level inputs, and you've got the speaker binding post. Now, I did find that the binding posts on the MXW70 look and feel cheaper than the ones on the PA7. I've got the PA7 all wide back in now just because I am going to be returning this, so I can't really show you directly, but other than that, similar kind of options. The XLR inputs are slightly different. These are just pure 3-pin with the locking mechanism, whereas on the PA7 they are dual purpose. So they are 3-pin XLR as well as 6.35mm TRS inputs for balance. So they do function as both depending on what kind of cables you are using. So it's nice to have that option there, whereas with this you do have to use 3-pin XLR if you want balanced inputs. And whilst the PA7 does have a lot of air vents both underneath and on the sides, and the housing itself is thick CNC machined aluminium by the way it feels and by the way it sounds, the taps and things, it's more folded sheet aluminium, so it does feel thinner and it does feel a bit cheaper around the edges, apart from the front fascia, which is obviously a block or a slab of aluminium. But there's no vents anywhere. It's just a solid sealed unit. Even on the underside, the PA7 has a whole load of vents just to exhaust all of the heat that it generates, whereas this doesn't have any of that. So that was kind of interesting to see. I didn't feel this getting warm or hot or anything like that to the touch during my time using it, whereas the PA7, it can reach around about 48 degrees centigrade on an average day. And that's fairly normal for an amp like that. It is a 48 volt 5 amp power supply that's powering it, so you kind of expect that for that kind of usage. So on average, the total wattage it's going to be around about 245 watts max, depending on the speaker load. There are a few quirks with the MXW70 that I wasn't too much of a fan of. The main one being the power LED. Now, I haven't got it plugged in at the moment, and it wouldn't really show up on camera as it does in dim lighting to the naked eye, but I found the power LED was a little too bright for desktop use. So sometimes, well, most of the time actually, I game in dim lighting, or when I'm editing photos, I prefer to have all the lighting dimmed down. So it's just the glow of the monitor. And I found, or if I'm watching something, and I found that this LED it is white and it is quite kind of distracting. There's no way to turn the LED off or dim it further. When it is in standby mode, whether you press the button or use 12-volt trigger, it does dim slightly, but the dimmed mode in standby is as bright as the normal mode on the PA7. So the PA7's LED, I never notice it at all, regardless. So that's what I was expecting, whereas I found this to be a bit too bright, which was quite annoying, and especially the fact that you can't dim it, or there's no button or toggle at the back to turn it off entirely, which other amps do give you the option to do that. But the material fit and finish of the front fascia, the button itself, it feels really good to press. And apart from the side chassis, the housing, I think the PA7 feels better from an overall aesthetics point of view. This looks more professional from the front fascia, and then it's so clean as well. That's kind of nice. But I just think the PA7, the way it's styled, apart from the plastic front glossy fascia, which does attract scratches and fingerprints and things, I think it does a better job, to be honest. On sound quality, there's some big differences here that I did notice, and I'll be honest that I think the PA7 sounds better. Now, normally on amps like these, you'd expect them to be transparent, but that is not the case. I'll link to a video below which goes into measurements and the technical aspects of why not all amps will sound the same. And it is largely to do with output impedance and the speakers that you're pairing with. I found that the MXW70 presents a soundstage that is slightly narrower than the PA7, and the vocals and mid-range in general sound more musical, more airy, or just more organic on the PA7. So there's something that the PA7 is doing which is just more natural sounding, and it just makes music seem or feel more alive. Whereas this just, I don't know, for some reason it just felt a little bit more compressed all over. The layering of stereo separation and the layering of instruments and things on the PA7 just sounded more authentic than they do on the MXW70. Does that mean that the MXW70 is more neutral and flat? I guess you could say that. The Hypex Encore that's inside here is obviously geared towards neutrality more. And because the DAC and preamp is set to its most neutral mode as well, it's just going to translate that through the amp anyway into the speakers. Whereas the PA7 does have a hint of coloration to the sound, and in a positive way, not in a negative way. So it does make music feel more natural. Not just music either, games, obviously the wider soundstage helps for games, media, whether it's YouTube or movies or TV shows or whatever, it just makes, though all of us, whatever's being played through, all sounds just sound more natural, at least through my speakers anyway. And again, the video I'll link below will highlight why that is the case, and it's due to output impedance and obviously system synergies, an important thing as well, because not all amps will pair the same way with all speakers, and preamps as well. If you're using a preamp, then all of this chain has to work together. And I think I found that chain that works well for my system, at least anyway, with this preamp, DAC, speaker, and power amp combo. So for me, yeah, I think this is going to have to go back. I mean, it does sound good. It does sound detailed. It's just not the level of detail and the presentation of that sound that I was expecting. And the other big thing is the price difference. When I bought the PA7 4 months ago, it was £500. Today, it is £350. I think that's amazing value for money. It was good value for money when it was new anyway. But at £350, I don't know what other amp sounds like this, because I've had a bunch of others before getting the PA7, and the PA7 just sounds better outright. Again, those soundstage details, those nuances in the music, it's just better with the PA7. Even though it has the internal power supply, it's just those conveniences don't outweigh the sound improvements that the PA7 has over this. And at £350, this is £499 at the moment, £500 basically. I don't think this offers more than what the PA7 does. So unless you're a fan of something that's completely analytical and flat, then £350 gets you an amp that sounds better, that's more compact, that has dual mode balanced inputs, that has a dedicated bypass mode button. Obviously you've got some buttons on the back of here as well. Just show you those. My subjective view at least is that the MXW70 is a great amp, but at £500 it doesn't sound like a £500 amp should do, in my opinion. The PA7 from Topping does a better job for £150 less, so I would say go with this. If you are driving a decent pair of passive speakers, then the PA7 will not let you down. If your musical tastes or sound signature tastes align with similar to what I have, which is smooth, warm, wide staging with amazing detail, whether it's in the low end or the top end, and vocal timbre matters as well. So if you're like me, then I think the PA7 can't go wrong with for the money.